Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael, and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named Anonymous Pooper about a month ago. The post is titled, "I pooped after sex." I really never thought I would ever be sitting here in my 40s asking a question like this to the internet, but here it goes. This is my favorite podcast to listen to, and I'm hoping some of you can figure out what the hell is going on. Warning, I am sure this is definitely kind of gross to think or read about. So I am 43 years old and my husband is 45. We have always made it a priority in our marriage to discuss what we are and are not comfortable with sexually and to let one another know if or when those things change, evolve, or just completely disappear. My husband was actually the one who first ever brought up the idea way back on the first night we had planned to sleep together, and while it felt kind of strange to talk so openly about the things I preferred in bed, it made that first experience with each other so much more intimate and satisfying for both of us. We literally used to have a talk beforehand every time we had sex, but eventually we got to the point where we were comfortable enough to know we could bring things up when we needed to and trust that the other would take it seriously. I feel like this is a key reason why we have such open dialogue with one another and feel so secure in our relationship even 17 years later. Recently, my husband approached me and asked if I had ever tried or had any opinions on anal sex. I wasn't turned away from the idea, but said I had never tried it and had no idea about any of the logistics involved, safety practices or concerns, cleansing, aftercare, and so on. He was in the same boat as I only had 2 other sexual partners before I met him, and he only had 1 before me. He explained it was just something he had been wondering about, but of course, he wasn't pushing me towards anything if I didn't like the idea. I decided I wasn't against trying it out, and the 2 of us ended up doing some reading together about the best way to go about it for beginners. From what I gathered, a big part of anal sex is the preparation beforehand, including going to the bathroom, cleaning around the anal cavity with warm water, and sometimes using a douche to clear any remaining fecal matter. Fast forward a week or so, we had a night to ourselves and everything we needed prepared, so we decided it was as good a time as any to try it out. I won't go into all the details, but basically, things went totally fine while we were having sex. My husband stopped multiple times to make sure I was both comfortable and enjoying myself, which I assured him I was, and long story short, things ended well. But here's where things eventually went wrong. Less than a minute after we had finished, I was suddenly hit with the sensation that I needed to poop. Like, immediately. It wasn't so bad that I couldn't get to the toilet, but as he was standing up from the bed to grab a pair of boxers, I jumped up and bolted into the bathroom without even putting on a robe, which is normally what I wear after sex. He came to the door concerned and asked if I was alright, to which I responded with a laugh and explained that I had read how anal sex can sometimes cause sudden bowel movements afterward, but that I was fine other than sitting naked on our toilet like a lunatic. All of a sudden, he got this disgusted look on his face and noticeably took a step backward away from me. I asked him if he was okay, but to my surprise, his disgust suddenly turned almost into anger when he said loudly, "There was still poop in your ass while we were having sex?" This is definitely along the lines of his type of humor, and I was so surprised I thought he had to be joking. So I started laughing and jokingly said back, "Well, at least it stayed there until you were done." He started getting more and more agitated, asking me how I could not have known and why I didn't do a better job making sure I had cleaned everything out. To be clear, nothing was leaking or coming out while we were actually having sex. It was only afterward that I suddenly had to go to the bathroom right away. Also, I know it's probably nobody's idea of a good time to get unwanted bodily fluids on them at any point, let alone during sex, but he is not squeamish about that kind of stuff. When our 2 girls were babies, he willingly changed diapers as much as I did and never had an issue with any of it. It got to the point that he actually outright accused me of intentionally trying to screw things up. Then he stormed off and grabbed a pillow and some blankets from our bed, saying he was sleeping downstairs on the couch for the night. Meanwhile, there I was, still pooping while naked on our toilet, totally stunned at what had just happened. I figured I would let him cool down for the night and try to discuss things with him the next day after he had calmed off, but when I went downstairs in the morning, he had already taken his car and left for work an hour earlier than he needed to leave. I tried to call him around his typical lunchtime, but he let it ring until it went to voicemail. I called my sister to tell her what had happened, and she also thought it was a joke until I told her multiple times that it was completely serious. I ended up leaving a note for my husband saying I went to stay with my sister for a little while since he clearly still needed some time and space before we could talk. That was yesterday, and I still haven't heard a word from him. He has never acted like this in any fight we've ever had. Am I going insane here? Am I the asshole for needing to poop after having sex? Edit. Wow, I cannot believe how many people have already commented on this post and weighed in. I appreciate all of you for your kind words and for reassuring me that this was not a normal response. I don't have much to update you with right now as I am still at my sister's house and have not yet heard from my husband, but I did want to mention that while we were doing the initial research, I was mainly the one reading all the stuff involving bodily functions and the aftermath of having anal sex. I think he mainly focused on how to best approach things as the person giving anal sex. I don't know that he really did any deep diving into how the body of the person receiving it reacts, but that didn't bother me at the time, mostly because we have always communicated very well about sex, and I didn't realize that things would blow up like this. I too am really struggling with how he didn't know that poop does not just sit inside the anus and that it goes through the entirety of your intestinal tract. This man is 45 and has had a colonoscopy before, and I'm wondering if he really thought using some warm water and a douche would be the equivalent. I have lots of questions and things I want to bring up to him, but I'm not exactly sure when that conversation will happen yet, so I will be sure to update here when it does. For now, thank you all again for your comments. Update. I first of all just wanted to say thank you all for your overwhelming support over this past week or so. I haven't been able to fully comprehend everything that has gone on since I made that post until today, but I have been reading all your comments and messages and I have been incredibly grateful. To get right into things, I stayed at my sister's house for an entire day and night before receiving a text from my husband asking if I would come home so we could talk. I wasn't sure if I was quite ready to forgive him, not just for our entire initial fight, but also for nearly 36 hours of radio silence that followed. But I wanted to figure out a resolution, and I figured that waiting any longer would only be more harmful. After nearly 2 days of no contact with one another, I figured things were calm enough that both he and I could sit down and have a rational adult conversation about what happened. To my surprise, when I first walked in the door, I was greeted by my husband tearfully hugging me and apologizing profusely, presenting me with a bouquet of flowers and homemade pancakes from scratch. I was very appreciative of the gestures and made sure to inform him that I was, but I reiterated that there was a lot of discussion that needed to take place before I was in a place to forgive him. He agreed with me on that, and as the two of us sat down together, I realized I didn't want to start with the question of what specifically made him angry about that night, in case it just frustrated him again. We had a pretty long conversation afterwards about communication and such that I won't bore you with, until I finally felt comfortable enough asking why he specifically got so angry with me over something that the entire anal sex-having world agrees is not only normal but expected. I could tell he was sort of embarrassed and nervous to answer me, and at first he couldn't really come up with anything to say other than, "I just didn't realize it would happen like that." I continued trying to explain everything I read and have continued to read about how common an occurrence bowel movements are after anal sex until eventually he blurted out, "It's just not usually like that." I was pretty taken aback by that sentence, and the look on his face after he said it told me he realized he shouldn't have, so I asked him what exactly he meant and reminded him this was supposedly a first-time thing for both of us. He immediately backtracked and swore that it was, and he started rambling some admission that he had been watching a lot of pornography, and his brain had just formed a specific idea of how anal sex usually went, and it was just a reaction out of embarrassment on his part for not expecting it. It was so clear he was lying that it actually shocked me to the point of tears. He was suddenly so willing to tell me all about this secret habit of watching pornography with anal sex when before he had apparently felt the need to hide it and couldn't even come to me to say he was watching it and wanted to try it in real life. I told him if he didn't tell me what was really going on, I was going back to my sister's house, and he broke down in tears once again. Eventually, through his fits of sobbing, I got out of him that for over a year now, he has been having an affair with his 26-year-old male co-worker. Apparently, a few months before that co-worker started at the company, my husband had been questioning whether or not he was bisexual, and after they met and he found out his co-worker was gay, the two of them hit it off and had a whole thing. So I guess that is why he was asking about anal sex. I genuinely think he was trying to use this all as some sort of twisted logic to make his reaction seem justified and make sense, but it honestly made me feel a million times worse than if I had just found out he was cheating in general. It had nothing to do with the co-worker being a man. It was more the thought that my husband couldn't even enjoy having sex with me as a person on my own, but instead had to make reality as close as it could get and then imagine it was with him instead of with me. Obviously, I was absolutely devastated and told him I was leaving again, and he continued begging me to stay and asked for us to work on fixing things together. I told him the time for that was back when he first started questioning his sexuality and said I would of course have supported him and helped him figure out what that meant for him and for our relationship, but at this point I was having no part of it. Eventually, his tears turned to anger once more, and he accused me of being biphobic. I think he realized immediately once he said it that he had made a mistake. My sister is literally bisexual and married to a woman, but he didn't say anything to contradict himself after that. I ignored him and gathered some basic essentials before leaving and heading back to my sister's house a complete wreck. As things stand now, I am of course planning for divorce, but that is obviously a long process and is going to take a while. I have contacted a lawyer already and have been making sure to take precautions so I am not just left in the dust when everything settles. Otherwise, I guess I am not in quite as much shock right now, but when I think about it for too long, my brain starts to unravel a bit. I wanted to say thank you again to everyone who commented and left me advice on my initial post. I deeply appreciate all of you for your support and understanding. Without it, I do not think I would have gotten to a place where I questioned anything that happened, and I would still be in a relationship with a man who clearly does not care enough about me to be honest. If anything crazy happens in the future, I will be sure to update you all again, but for now, this is the end to this insane story of needing to poop after sex. A quick edit because someone messaged me to ask about this and I realized I left it out of the story. Our daughters are both doing okay and right now are staying with me at my sister's house. They are both teenagers, so telling them wasn't quite as hard as I imagine it is telling young children. I of course didn't go into any details and I tried not to explicitly paint my husband in any negative light, as he is still their father and I don't want what happened between him and me interfering with their relationship to him. That said, my oldest figured out pretty quickly that cheating was involved and asked me about it privately later. I again gave no details but did confirm her suspicions. I feel that if she is old enough to ask about it happening, she is old enough for me to respect her by being as truthful as I can with her. Exploded Email Storage said, "The title made me think this would be a funny story, but now I'm fucking sad." To this comment, user AcerVday said, "During the first part of this, I thought he was an idiot for being angry when he suggested anal sex and somehow completely managed to forget that poop is a thing that exists. After the second part, he is especially an idiot for both cheating on his wife and accusing her of being biphobic. I am bisexual. I know what biphobia is because I have experienced it. And for this man to even utter an accusation that his wife being upset about him cheating on her is biphobia boils my blood." Chronically Thinking said, "So he was mad at her for pooping and thought it warranted a 2-day silent treatment, but he thought nothing of his year-long affair." To this user, Madam Kitsune said, "I'm a cynic, so I wonder if the timeline was day 1. He goes to work, stews a bit, goes out with his co-worker afterwards saying, 'I've left her, we can be together,' finds out that he was just some casual thing and the co-worker isn't looking for anything serious, especially with someone who comes with bonus teenagers. Day 2. Shit. Reality creeps in. The co-worker is keeping him at arm's length. OP hasn't come back, the house is empty, and there are no happy family sounds. He must get his wife back. Flowers, pancakes, fast talk, except he runs his mouth, trips himself up, panics, and spills. Shocked Pikachu face when OP walks away. This next post was made in the AITA subreddit by a throwaway account. The post is titled, "I started flirting with another girl after my GF introduced me as a friend. I am 28 years old and my girlfriend is 29. We have been together for more than 2 years. We recently moved to a new city and she started working at a new place 3 months ago. 2 days ago, there was an after-work get-together event at a bar with her co-workers. She forgot her phone charger at home and her battery was low. I went to give her the extra power bank we have at home as her phone uses the old USB type. As I approached her table to give it to her, one of her colleagues asked who I was. Before I could say anything, she replied, 'This is my friend OP. He agreed to lend me the charger.' I was a bit taken aback and looked at her saying, 'Friend?' She just laughed and said, 'You are so funny, thank you for this,' and waved to me, implying goodbye. One of the other colleagues asked me if I was free and said I could also join them. I said, 'Why not?' But I could sense the annoyance on my girlfriend's face. People were drinking, some talked to me and asked questions, making conversation, such as what I do and where I grew up. I should mention at this point that my girlfriend and most of her colleagues there were Chinese and I am Indian. This becomes relevant later. Whenever someone asked me anything related to how I met my girlfriend, she would pipe up to answer in a way that wasn't untrue but completely omitted any romance, giving the impression that we were just old friends. This kept bothering me, and I will admit I was getting pretty angry. Then one of the colleagues who initially asked who I was, now pretty drunk, said OP's girlfriend never told us she had such a good-looking friend, and laughed. My girlfriend also gave a small, polite laugh. I replied, I didn't know she had such a pretty colleague either, and winked at her, which made her laugh more, but my girlfriend became visibly upset. Another colleague said to my girlfriend, "Seems like you are an expert Cupid." My girlfriend was turning red, and I was also feeling slightly uncomfortable. So after a bit more chit-chat, I made an excuse and said I had to go. The colleague said I should get her number from my girlfriend, and then I left. Now, when she came back, she refused to talk to me, and yesterday she angrily told me that I had kind of cheated on her and hurt her badly. I replied that although what I did was hurtful, she also needs to own up to the fact that introducing me as just a friend was hurtful. She refuses to acknowledge it as wrong, saying that she is just socially awkward and thought her colleagues might react weirdly to her dating an Indian guy, as they are all dating white or other Chinese people. Her reasoning is that it is a lot of explanation and questions regarding interracial dating, and she just wanted to avoid all that. I don't buy it. I feel she just wanted to hide the fact that she is dating me. We are at an impasse. I refuse to apologize until she sees that what she did was wrong, and she thinks she did not do anything wrong and that I was mean. Am I the asshole? Update. To answer some questions people had, in the work friend group that day, there were 3 men as well. I did not publicly correct her because saving face is very important to her, and she would have had a literal panic attack if I had done that. On Friday, we talked. I admitted I was petty, but I was also hurt by her introduction of me as a friend. She broke down. At her workplace, they have a group chat where they share memes, and it gave her the impression that they hate Indian people. She did not want to become the subject of jokes, so she had planned to introduce me slowly to the group as a friend, and after they started liking me, reveal that we are dating. This plan backfired badly because I started talking to them last week before she was ready, and she became anxious and went into autopilot mode to support her initial lie that I was a friend. She felt helpless, guilty, and hurt when they found me acceptable and cool, and I started flirting. Why did she not tell me all this earlier? She felt that it would make me dislike her coworkers, who are otherwise actually nice people, and she did not want me to feel bad that she works with them. I asked her if I could see that group chat because I wanted to make sure this was the real reason and not, as many suggested, a work crush. Almost 1/3 of the older memes they shared were Indians are dirty and uncivilized, or Indians are horny creeps, and so on. You all know there are plenty on social media. There were also some about Southeast Asians, mostly posted by one man and one woman, while others would just laugh, react, or reply with a short comment. I scrolled back to an old message from my now ex-girlfriend to one of these memes. She had said, "I have an Indian friend, he is actually pretty nice." Someone had replied, "You found one of the clean ones." followed by a bunch of laugh reactions. There were also some recent messages after they met me, but I did not bother to read and translate it all. I realized that while she liked my personality and looks, she was never truly interested in my language or culture. Since I started dating her, I have earned a level 3 certificate in Chinese, can cook most Chinese dishes perfectly, and know all about her region, but the festival Holi will come and go without her ever knowing what Holi is. I felt hurt that those kinds of jokes were not a big enough deal for her. I asked her why she never said anything to them about these jokes. She said this kind of reaction is why she did not tell me before. She feels like a relationship is private and not a part of who she is as a person, especially at work, so she saw no reason to create tension. I feel like she just means I am not worth it. I asked her point blank if she would have preferred I was not Indian, and she said it would have made her life easier. That really stung. I packed some clothes and went to a friend's house. I do not even know how to write about my feelings right now, but I feel deeply hurt, as if my trust was completely broken by her. My friend is going on vacation, and he will let me stay at his place while I look for a new one. Today, I went to get my other belongings, and she was crying a lot. She says she does not understand why something so minor could make me break up with her and throw away a good thing. She says she loves me, and if it is so important, that she will change her workplace. I told her I would need to think about things, but I cannot be with her right now. Honestly, my mind feels like a jumble, and I'm still having a hard time articulating exactly what hurts me so much. Sunburnt Peach said, "You know what also sucks about this? They were together for 2 years and even moved cities together, yet she still didn't hesitate to treat him like disposable trash just to be validated by a group of coworkers she has known for like 3 months. Also, was this in the Teams or Slack channel at work, because what the heck?" Kozayekin said, "Imagine thinking that not wanting to call racists out for being racist is a valid defense for pretending your boyfriend is not your boyfriend. This woman has no character." Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, GamerSupps. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase, link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.